Our reading today comes from John's Gospel. It's John chapter 14 and verses 8 to 17. The context of this is still the conversation that Jesus is having with the disciples in the upper room on the night before he was handed over. And he's begun after predicting the betrayal by Judas, telling them the new commandment. If you have love for one another, then everyone will know that you are my disciples, predicting Peter's denial, and then telling them that he's going to be leaving them again. Do not be worried, do not be upset. Thomas says in verse 5, "Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know how to get there?" And Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." There is no destination, no path, no starting at A and finishing at B. Jesus is the way. If you follow Jesus, you are already treading that path. So we pick it up at verse 8. Philip then said to him, "Lord, show us the Father. That's all that we need." Jesus answered, "For a long time I have been with you all, yet you do not know me, Philip? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. Why then do you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe, Philip, that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words that I have spoken to you," Jesus said to his disciples, "do not come from me. The Father who remains in me does his own work. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. If not, believe because of the things I do. I am telling you the truth. Whoever believes in me will do what I do. Yes, he will do even greater things, because I am going to the Father, and I will do whatever you ask for in my name, so that the Father's glory will be shown through the Spirit. If you ask me for anything in my name, I will do it. If you love me, you will obey my commandments. I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper who will stay with you forever. He is the Spirit who reveals the truth about God. The world cannot receive him because it cannot see him or know him. But you know him because he remains with you and is in you." Now today is Pentecost Sunday, a day when we traditionally remember how the Spirit of God came and dwelt amongst that first group of disciples, whether that's in John's account in the upper room on that first Easter Sunday evening, or whether it's in Luke Acts when we hear about the disciples being touched by tongues of fire from heaven. It doesn't matter, the historical sequence. The issue is that post-resurrection, the Spirit of God was set wild and free and able to be with us all wherever we are and whenever we are. Those first disciples were changed from a frightened, disorganized band of people, directionless, into people with a very firm assurance, a complete and utter conviction that they had indeed been witnesses to something truly monumental, something as important as the first creation event itself, that God became a human being in Jesus and showed us God's true nature, and that through Jesus' selfless death on the cross and the subsequent resurrection, all people everywhere can come into that close and personal relationship with God that is freely on offer. Now that we have seen what God's nature is, we can truly look upon the face of Jesus and recognize that there is unconditional love for all people everywhere, and that this is indeed a firm foundation, a solid rock, love beyond measure, glory, joy, splendor, and wonder beyond words. all that wonderful stuff set free. But in John's theology here, we hear a little bit about the Trinity, that artificial construct that we've put on to try and help. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it confuses. Of course, by calling God in three persons, Blessed Trinity, as the words of the hymn go, we cause our own problem as well as solve our own issue, because we look at three distinct persons. They are three aspects. Think of looking in on a room that has three sides, and each side has a window. You're going to see a different aspect of the same room. And so it is with the Trinity. We see God, Jesus, and the Spirit as different reflections of the one entity that we still call God. Different incarnations, different realities, different experiences. People may say, today there is no wind, but of course there is, and tomorrow it's a monsoon, and then it'll be different. But it's still the movement of air, however you experience it. So we talk about the Spirit in this reading, but of course the reading is still very much on John's central theme, that in Jesus we do indeed see God in human form. That's the key thing. Jesus was a God, not some pale imitation, not some distant relative on loan, but God in human form. He's talking to the disciples about leaving them because obviously he's going off to die, but then saying, of course, that the Spirit will be with you. I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper. So just like Jesus, another Jesus, another helper, the Spirit who reveals the truth about God, just as Jesus has done himself. And as Jesus says, the world cannot receive him, just as Jesus has said previously that the world cannot receive the good news that he comes to offer, because it is ignorant of being in a relationship of love. If you look at the face of Jesus and you love what you see because of what happened, or because of what he did, the words he said, or what he did, as is the message there. Believe me when I say I'm in the Father, and the Father is in me. If not, believe because of the things I do. If you can't believe my words, look at my actions. And so with the Spirit. The world does not know the Spirit because it can't see it. It's not a tangible entity. You can't touch it. You can't put it in a box. You can't invoke it through any strange mechanism. It exists in the hearts of people who understand and know that they are loved by God. An electric light filament only gives light when it's ignited with electric charge. When it isn't being turned on, when the switch is off, then that bulb is simply a metal in a gas. But if you pass electric current through it, then it will invoke that reaction that causes incandescence and light. And so it is with people. If we're switched off from the love of God, then we don't radiate with God's love. It's as simple as that. But if we turn ourselves on, if we can connect ourselves, if we can come home and be the people we were always meant to be, then we can shine through God's power. And you can call that electricity or God's Spirit or whatever you like. But it is a force which transforms us and enables us to be the people we were always meant to be. So it's a theological discussion that Philip is having initially, just as Thomas has started with Jesus. Show us the way, show us the Father, give us the proof. And Jesus is constantly saying to them, you've seen it. I'm here, right in front of you. This is me. And if you don't believe that, believe my words, look at what's happened around you. Look at what you've seen. Look at what you've witnessed. And it is all about remaining in relationship, isn't it? Abiding in that relationship with Jesus. If you are close to me, if you follow what I say, if you live the sort of life that I myself have shown you how to live, then you will be in close relationship with God. And we get those wonderful words about, ask whatever you want to, and I will, in my name, and I will do it. And that's such an interesting phraseology, isn't it? Because we're not talking here about people who have trained and become excellent in spiritual perfection and therefore can ask prayers and God will respond to them because they're good people. No, it's all about the fact that if you're close to Jesus, if Jesus abides in your heart and governs your words and, more importantly, your actions, then the sort of things you want to ask to happen, the sort of things you need from God, are the things that will be given. They are for strength in difficult situations. They are that you'll have the courage and the ability to love others. They are the assurance and the peace to live another day aware that you're in God's great presence. Not to do monumental things for your own benefit, the things that would make you happy, or the things that would even demonstrate to you in a way that Thomas and Philip are asking for proofs. For none is needed. Jesus died and rose again, and the Spirit of God is now available to all people everywhere. The relationship, the encounter that people can have with God now is different. No longer distant and far away and seemingly alien, although at times fiercely close during the Old Testament, no longer in the physical presence of God in a person, Jesus, but now in our hearts, wherever we are and whoever we are. And this indeed is the good news, that relationship and love is for all people everywhere. And on Pentecost we simply celebrate that symbolic act, if you like, when the first people, those who had been closest to Jesus after his death and resurrection, were able to know God in their own hearts, not as an external force or an external presence, but God in them, alive in them, and deeply, deeply loved by that experience, and therefore ignited into a missionary force, not to create a church, but to create the kingdom of heaven on earth, a collection of human beings who know that they are loved by the God who made all things, and who care and love for all people everywhere.